Welcome to the Escape the Drift podcast. I am Dr. Jacob Egbert, and today's topic is the free man. I always say that I'm in the business of freedom, and this is a general theme throughout everything that I speak of, especially nodding to the title, Escape the Drift. Being caught in the drift is essentially a captivity of the norm, or that which you are supposed to do, or that which is assumed to be right, or that which you are programmed to do prior to full consciousness. And once you become aware of a new way, you have opportunity to escape the drift, which in essence is becoming free. Now, I titled this one A Free Man. Being a free man, becoming a free man, specifically is that I am a man. I will speak to that. There is the free human, which is a more general perspective. Yet as a man, I cannot speak to the women directly or in their shoes or from that perspective. I'll leave that to a free woman. So as a free man, what does that look like? I think there are 4 elements, and I've nodded to these in different ways, but today I'm going to use the 4 F's: faith, family, freedom, and fitness. Now, these 4 are a little more specific than some of the more general ones. Speaking of the body, resources or finances or production, or mindset, or passion, or relationships. I'm getting a little bit more clear here. Faith being that which you believe, which has a connection to your heart and your soul, and perhaps a spiritual connotation. And then family, specific to the family versus general relationships or other people in your community. This is closer to home. And then freedom. Freedom being that which is beyond resources or money, although those can be very helpful. Freedom comes from being detached from captivity in any way. And that bleeds into the other 3. Lastly, being fitness. Fitness is the priority. You can have a body, and you can focus on your body in many ways, aesthetics, capacity, etc. But when it comes to freedom, fitness is required. So family, freedom, fitness, and faith. Now, this isn't a religious perspective when I say faith. You can absolutely use your religion in this context, and please do if that's your bent. Mine is not religious. I am deeply spiritual in many ways, yet I do not ascribe to any particular religion. So to be a free man, incorporating these 4 tenets or categories, with the one bleeding into the others, that being freedom, there are some pretty necessary elements to being a free man. And one of those is to own it, to become it, to state it, to declare it. I am a free man. And as a free man, what does a free man do? Or what does a free man not do? What does a free man not tolerate? And this is where the conversation goes. In these 4 areas, I'll begin with faith. A free man believes and acts on his beliefs, unencumbered by external forces, external pressures. That includes social, community, family even, or those things that you were brought up with, the convention. If you are following things that were taught to you before you had full capacity or awareness, perhaps you can revisit that and really evaluate your faith. There is comfort in those faiths that you were brought up with. I absolutely understand this. So you may have a contemplation and look at your own faith and think, I like this one. It really feels good. And I would challenge you to look deeper and consider that this is largely because of familiarity, and familiarity feels safe. Familiarity feels good. Familiarity is what you're experiencing. So perhaps look at it closer. Perhaps explore. And exploring can be uncomfortable. As you go look at another religion, for example, or another perspective or a way of seeing spirituality, you're going to have discomfort because it is new, it is not familiar, and therefore you will be brought back to your familiar and think, well, this is right, this is good because I feel comfortable, I feel safe here. I challenge you to look at that deeper. Pure freedom comes from that which comes deep within your soul after the dark night. Faith is not easy. Faith is what you see on the other side of darkness, when you've stared into the abyss long enough to see the light. And I'm not saying go do anything in the dark, but I'm saying face the dark. Look at the darkness and see where the good exists. Where does the good reside? How does it play out without conflict with your internal state? And that's tough because you do have those tendencies toward familiarity. But the point of all of this is simply to look close and see where you can be free in your faith. And once you've found your faith, how do you express it? How do you live by your faith? Do you compromise those beliefs that you have in order to look good, in order to avoid contention, in order to keep the peace? Now, there's a phrase that I really appreciate from the Christian Bible. It was a reference to one of the apostles, I believe, and the nickname, and actually as I'm remembering, it's probably something different. And if you know it, you know it. And if not, don't worry about it. The Lion of the Lord. Now, if you believe in God and you had the title Lion of the Lord, what would that mean? What would that look like? I imagine it would be somebody who was brave, brazen, confrontational, and goes out and gets what he wants. Do you have that type of faith in what it is you believe, in your spirituality? Could you be titled Lion of the Lord? Anyway, freedom of faith. Next, family. Your family is your responsibility as a man. You are the leader. You are the protector. You are the provider. And those are your baseline objectives. You have the obligation, the duty to prepare your children for their future, for the remaining years outside of your care, that they be able to thrive and excel. So you have to train them. You have to prepare them for the environment that is out there. Now, if you create safety, great. But if you do not challenge them, if you don't try them, if you don't give them conflict to resolve, if you don't give them struggle to prove themselves, not to you or to others necessarily, but especially to themselves. If you don't give your children opportunity to see what they're made of, perhaps review your performance. Especially the job as a man, as a father, as a leader of a family. Your job is to prepare them. And preparing is not always pleasant. It is not always easy. It is not always fun. You have to give them exposure to those experiences that they will face on their own. You have to expose them to challenges that require them to dig deep and see what they have to offer the world. And you can do this with kindness and love, of course. yet you cannot pull the discomfort that is required of them. Because if you do not give them those opportunities, they will fail in the real world. Now you have a partner, perhaps a wife. Your job is to protect her and to give her that which she needs in order to express her free woman, the feminine, to allow her to dance, to flourish, to create. So you create the guardrails, you create the structure, you create that which allows her to be free. She does not create and allow you to be free. It is your job as the free man to prepare and to guide and to lead your family. Perhaps that's controversial for you. I'm sorry if it is. Next, freedom. Freedom as a dedication, as a declaration, as a way of being, as a perspective, as a guiding light, as the North Star, is your duty as a man. As I said, as a leader of your family, you have the obligation to provide for them. One of the most powerful ways of creating personal freedom is through financial means, through resources, through status, through education, through being threatening in the world and not at effect of or to be victim of those around you. Become as powerful as you possibly can and be free. If freedom is your objective, if you put it out there to be so fully and completely free, then the path becomes clear, what it is you have to do in order to gain that particular freedom. Perhaps it's political awareness. See what's coming around you. In a previous podcast, I titled Monsters at the Gate. There are people attempting to limit your freedom, and they are powerful and they are cunning and they are connected. In order to battle those monsters, you must become an equally / more powerful monster, capable, threatening, to protect your freedoms and the freedoms of those that see similar to you. Amass wealth, amass status, amass community, amass connection, network, become threatening to me, to remain free and protect your family, your faith. And lastly, fitness. To be the ultimate free man, you must have a fighter's body. You must have muscle mass and strength and capacity through all your years. It comes easy when you're young, in your 20s, maybe into your 30s, and then it becomes much, much more difficult. It's not natural and therefore requires work and attention. Do the work. So, fitness, health, well-being, absolutely required for freedom. To be a free man, you must have the capacity to protect, to provide, to go out into the world with assertiveness, with confidence. These things come from the neurochemical, the biophysiologic components of a robust man body. And that's not easy, and that is not free in and of itself. But it creates freedom when earned. Obviously, the fueling hormone for masculinity is testosterone. It's the most effective thing that you can do from a medical perspective as a medical provider. This is what I've focused on in my clinical practice because I see the importance of it for fitness, especially in the aging man. Get that optimized. Get to the gym and become as strong as you possibly can. within the bounds of all the other things that you're pursuing. Be capable. Gain cardiovascular fitness. You have to last long into these later years to provide for and prepare and to protect your family, your freedom, your faith. Be fit. Now I'm going to go back to testosterone briefly. This is important. There's this interesting thing I've noticed recently. It's fascinating. People are afraid of it. They're afraid of the masculinity. They're afraid of the full expression of man. Both externally, those that call it toxic, those that say testosterone is the cause of all our problems. But there are those that have low testosterone that are afraid to supplement, that are afraid to do what it takes to elevate their own personal testosterone. And perhaps that fear is a symptom of the low testosterone. If you're not fully expressed physically, and I'm not saying you have to go on TRT, I'm saying do what it takes to elevate and optimize your hormonal profile. When you are optimized, when you have that which fuels the full masculine body, you become assertive. You become confident. You go after that which is in front of you. It's a fascinating phenomenon. And there are those that are afraid of that. Likely, as I said, because of the symptom of low testosterone or low fitness or low energy or whatever you want to call it. And it keeps them small. It keeps them down. It keeps them captive. The hardest animals to control are those with the most power and strength. You look at bulls in a field of cattle. The fences that are required to hold them back are significantly larger and stronger than that which holds back the cows. And one of the most effective ways of controlling bulls in their youth is to castrate them, to remove their testosterone. Do you want to try to capture the male lion? No. Governments do not want strong men. Powerful people in the world do not want strong men. A captor does not want strong men. In order to be free, you must remain powerful. Physically, financially, in your faith, and for your family. These are the obvious tenets of a free man. And this is basic stuff, clearly. I want to add one thing to close this out. Look at your personal life, men, and women, look at your men. Are they free? What's holding them back? Likely, it's a constellation of things. And it holds back all four areas. If your fitness is low, your energy is low, your relationships aren't as good. You don't bring yourself. You don't have the confidence. And weak men are dangerous, abusive, passive. They don't follow their faith. They're not true to the ideals and principles that guide them. They're sneaky. And they're not free. They may not perform well in their responsibilities. They don't stand up for themselves. They don't stand up for you. What's it going to take to enroll you or the men you know in becoming as powerful and free as possible? What's it going to take to create a country of free men? Because things are conspiring against that endeavor. Absolutely. So my encouragement today is to assess, to look, where am I free and where am I not free? How can I bring myself to that level to optimize all areas of my life to pursue freedom for me and mine? This is the Escape the Drift podcast, and I am Dr. Jacob Egbert.